Islam. It's another one. Canaanland Moors. Yeah, September. The year's going fast. September 10th. First of all, again, we give honors to Allah, the supreme force that brought everything into existence. We give thanks to Allah for sending us a prophet, Noble Drew Ali, that was sent to redeem the nations of earth from mental slavery. He came to give the Moors back their birthright. Alright, so we want to put honors up for having the courage to stand up for Noble Drew Ali, because nobody except the Moors really stand up for Noble Drew Ali. So honors to the Prophet. Let's get all our stuff out the way that we got to get out the way. This Saturday, Ashura and Mary Rakwesi, September 14th, 2013, York University, Curtis Lecture Hall 1. Alright, 1 p.m. 647-919-0466. 647-289-0877. And that's Asher Kwesi live in Toronto. So Islam to all the Moors involved in bringing Asher Kwesi. Also on Saturday, 6 p.m. Dundas Square. Make sure you support the Moors that are involved in Feed the Hungry. You know what I mean? I think this is Feed the Hungry 11 or 12 or something. So Feed the Hungry, Saturday 6 p.m. If you have donations that you want to donate to those who are less fortunate than we are, you can meet up at Dundas Square. Now, let me put this on the record. If you have lots of stuff, if you have like 50 bags of clothes, right, to donate to Feed the Hungry, and then they're gonna go around downtown and just give out free stuff, right, to people. If you come down there with 50 bags of clothes, you have to be there to give those stuff out. It's not a drop off. It's not a come and just drop stuff off and leave. It's about unity. It's about people who care coming together with what little stuff they could scrape up that they don't even have, or if they have lots and are holding back, right? Bring your stuff down to Feed the Hungry, no matter what you have. If you have something to donate, just come down there. Dundas Square, that's at Yonge and Dundas. Obviously, that's for people who are in Canaanland, unless you want to, whatever. So Feed the Hungry, 6 p.m., Dundas Square. Bring something to give out. The people from the last time that we went, I don't know if this is still the same request, but it's mainly like toiletries, things that they can use, right? But then winter's coming too, so consider jackets and long johns and things like that. And then September 21st, September 22nd, Toronto Naturals Hair Show, and that's on torontonaturals.ca. 647-858-4247, 416-580-5309. And don't forget, Civil Alert Radio Blog Talk tonight, and Moorish Heritage and History School Eyes Wide Open Blog Talk at 9:30 tonight. Call the number 347-945-5899. And oh yeah, and one more thing. Brother Rami Samam Il sent me a text today to mention the MoorishOaklandStar.wordpress.com. So the MoorishOaklandStar.wordpress.com can post any documents by Moors for public notice or record documenting purposes. No finance or quote-unquote money needed, just in case anybody wondered or anyone wondered. All right. So MoorishOaklandStar.wordpress.com for Moors to post their public notice documents, because as we know, we can't even go with what's out there as far as their jurisdiction, right? You can't go with their jurisdiction because their jurisdiction is a fraud, and because their jurisdiction is a fraud, we have a right as Aboriginal and Indigenous people to handle our own affairs, because obviously if they're in how much ever $1 billion debt, they're not competent to run government because they're in debt how much ever $1 billion. So, and all they talk about is how they mismanage funds and whatever, and we didn't even get into talking about, you know, the bonds side of how they create wealth and the trust side, right? So their time's pretty much up and everybody's running for the hills right now, right? If you haven't noticed, right? So there's a judge, Montana District Judge G. Todd Bough, B-A-U-G-H, right? Judge faced widespread condemnation for the sentence and for saying Rambold, 14-year-old victim, was older than her chronological age, and asserting that she had some control over her relationship with Rambold. The judge later apologized for his comments. Those who have called for him to resign said it's not enough. The girl killed herself before Rambold's case came to trial. That left prosecutors without their main witness. Right? So they're running out the hills and they're leaving everybody out to dry. Right? So you're just gonna go research the Rambold case, right, to know, and then here's the judge. Right? And he's a judge, right? Whether he's a judge that's a fraud or a judge that's legit or has whatever he's supposed to have, he's a judge, and they're saying he's a judge and they're saying that he should resign because of just something he said pertaining to a case. And they left him out to dry, the judge, right? And then in Canaanland, right, Zimmerman in the news still for all the Black Panther Party people, right? Just so you know that he's still in the news, waving guns around, right, but not pulling triggers this time. Just so you can get that bond back up again. Because now, you know, this is a second threat. And this is to his wife, or estranged wife, or whatever. I'm going to read that. Now today we're talking about, oh yeah, and one more thing, just in case you know, in Canaanland, just like I said, all these guys are getting thrown under the bus by their own right now, right? So, Toronto Star editor, right? So Toronto Star is a paper in Toronto, a newspaper, right? National paper, so-called national paper, right? And its rival is the Toronto Sun, right? So the Sun and the Star are the two biggest papers in Canaanland, right? And then notice that one's a Sun, one's a Star, right? Using our symbology. Yeah, this is old stuff, but just putting it out there. So they have Rob Ford, the mayor of the Corporation of Toronto. They brought back up his video of smoking crack and basically saying that it's a legit video. There's no faking. Like, that's a legit video, right? And the real inside story is that the Toronto Star is owned by an individual who, you know, is prominent Toronto businessman, and you know, he has beef with the Ford family, right? His father and Rob Ford, who is the mayor's father, have had beef in the past, right? So that's just some teal stuff. Now we're talking about unity, right? So what we want to put up there is Dennis Rodman, everybody, the madman, right? So the madman Dennis Rodman saying that he's going to go visit his brethren Kim. You know what I mean? Because he's working on coaching or training some basketball team or something like that in South Korea. So retired NBA star, or North Korea, sorry. Retired NBA star says the autocratic leader has asked him to train players for the 2016 Olympics. Dennis Rodman is going back to North Korea and bringing a team of former NBA players with him. Days after returning from his second trip to visit Kim Jong-un, in which he said he became the first foreigner to hold the leader's newborn daughter, Rodman announced plans Monday to stage 2 exhibition games in North Korea in January, blah blah, right? So they're showing you, you know what I mean? They're sitting there calling each other brother, right? And you know, and people are trying to sell, right, their brother, who, you know, is from the jurisdiction of Asia, right, North Asia, right? They're gonna sell them a package, right? More with a fez on, right? It goes around like, you know, this is just what we do. That individual who is having some serious problems, right, says, you know what, I've been watching you or whatever, and I think you can help me, right? And that individual will get charged $1,000 for the help by a Moor with a fez on, right? The Moorish paradigm has been infiltrated by black thought, right? I'm putting that out there. The Moorish paradigm has been infiltrated by black thought. The concept of blackness, as in the black power movement, black supremacy, God is black, right? And all that stuff, right? All that blackness has infiltrated the Moorish movement. When you have somebody saying $1,000, right, for not even getting some papers, or you didn't get anything yet. You didn't even get anything to say, okay, I put 1,000 and I got this. not a sheet of paper. $1,000 up front, boldly too, right? That's what we're up against. All the Moors who are active, right? All the Moors who are active, right? And active not meaning just, going to court. Active meaning having a feed the hungry. That's active. Having a natural hair show conference. That's active. Having a site where Moors could upload their documents for free and make it a public record. Because what does the stuff say? Right? What does it say? Our authority. Our authority. So as active Moors and Moors who are coming into the movement, know that before you start doing anything or whatever, know what your authority is. Because without your authority, you have no claim. Zero claim. Like absolutely zero. No claim whatsoever. Claim notwithstanding. Our authority is the only reason that we're able to exercise Moorish Science Temple of America in the same light but on a higher level than the Vatican. In the same way. And every Moorish Science Temple of America is supposed to be just like the Vatican. Every temple is supposed to be like that. But we're not there yet. That's where we're getting to. Right? But remember that the Moorish movement has been infiltrated by black thought. Right? So we're not talking about the astral realm, and we're not talking about the physical realm or the spiritual realm. We're talking about the mental realm. The mental realm of the Moorish movement has been infiltrated by black thought. And as active Moors, we have to correct it by getting back on the program, which is what Noble Drew Ali brought. Forget what anybody else brought. I don't care what anybody else brought. Because anything that anybody else has didn't come from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Or it would say it came from that, and people wouldn't be hiding pictures with people with fezzes on. That's saying there's something other than Moorish Science Temple of America. And don't get me wrong, Great Seal and Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Old Canaanite Temple, Clock of Destiny, any active Moorish American national government, any active Moors who are putting the Prophet out front and not worrying about what anybody else is pushing and sticking to the program is where you need to go and where you need to be, right? Because it's all about activity. What it comes down to is activity. What are you doing to assist the Prophet in uplifting fallen humanity? Like, what are you doing? Are you making up your own nationality card and putting it on a website and telling people, yeah, send me a donation, I'll give you a nationality card that you just created yesterday? Or are you going to connect yourself with individuals who have a track record? Or like MoorishOaklandStar.wordpress.com have been doing things so long that it's public record that they are who they are because of their activity. So as Moors, so what we got today is, again, we're on the perspective of unity and what is bringing about this unity, right? What it comes down to is unity, right? And being that we have a certain obligation to unite, because we have obligation to that. That's not just something that, you know, we think we want to do because it's sensible, right? Okay. Unity. In the law of estates, the peculiar characteristic of an estate held by several in joint tenancy, and which is fourfold, right? Okay, fourfold. Okay, unity of interest, unity of title, unity of time, and unity of possession. In other words, joint tenants have one and the same interest, occurring by one and the same conveyance, commencing at one and the same time, and held by one and the same time, and the same undivided possession. So once again, unity. In the law of estates, the peculiar characteristic of an estate held by several in joint tenancy, and which is fourfold: unity of interest, unity of title, unity of time, and unity of possession. In other words, joint tenants have one and the same interest, accruing by one and the same conveyance, commencing at one and the same time, and held by one and the same undivided possession. Right? So the next thing that is most important is that it's talking about estates. So unity has to do with an estate. So there has to be an estate if you're talking unity. Right? Estate, the interest which anyone has in lands or in any other subject of property. An estate in lands, tenements, and hereditaments signifies such interest as the tenant has therein, the condition or circumstance of which the owner stands with regard to his property. In this sense, estate is constantly used in conveyances in connection with the words right, title, and interest, and is in a great degree synonymous with all of them. The degree, quality, nature, and extent of interest which a person has in real property is usually referred to as an estate, and it varies from absolute ownership down to naked possession. In another sense, estate designates the property, real or personal, in which one has a right or interest, the subject matter of ownership, the corpus of property. Thus, we speak of a valuable estate, all my estate, separate estate, trust estate, etc. This also is its meaning in the classification of property into real estate and personal estate. Right? So get your dictionaries up. So now we know what unity is. We're gonna see how being black is in error, right? And not because we say so, but because it's common knowledge to everybody that uses their brain. Obama anti-black rant, March on Washington speech. Right, so this is a black guy, black African guy. I guess Glenn Ford, but the website is blackagendareport.com. So, like right there already, because our people that call themselves Negro, Black, Colored are stateless, right? This is how national from some other place in the world is going to look at this. Well, this guy's name is Glenn Ford, which is a European name. And then he has a website that says Black Agenda Report. Okay. Obama's twisted view of black people, what's that? Okay. And their history was on full display at the March on Washington anniversary. The president spewed slanders and lies, conjuring up welfare queens, crazed black militias, and his old standby bad black parents. To put it bluntly, the first black president gave a good stand-up impression of a racist white man. Right? And then we already know free white people is the Moors. Right? Obama puts the onus squarely on blacks for destroying the promise of racial harmony. It was bad enough that a sitting president and key members of his administration occupied positions of prominence and in fact stole the show at the anniversary of the March on Washington. But what issued from Barack Obama's mouth were premeditated insults to black Americans and their history. Right? Black Americans, what's that? That's not anything. That's a fictitious tag, slave brand. To put it bluntly, the first black president gave a very good stand-up impression of a racist white man. Right? First black president. Right? When he himself said he's not black. Right? So calling him out his name, just like they call European out his name and call him white man. Right? And there's no need to beat the dead horse. Right? If you're about unity. And we're not talking about, NOI unity, wherein you just bring the whole and all their concepts and just throw away all your stuff, and now you're only just pushing this ideology that's not yours, right? Because Moore told me straight up, Mos Miriam, they don't even have a picture of Garvey up there, but they have Hubbard up in the mosque, picture in the university, right? They don't have Garvey up in there, right? But that's the black Muslims though. Remember King Alfred plan? They have the tag. So because they have the tag, they're not down with unity. Because unity means you have to have an estate. Because where are you uniting? The first thing you need is an estate. So you have something to unite for. You just want to unite just because, and so, you know what I mean? We're united now. Why haven't you been united since Noble Drew Ali? Because he brought the unity piece. He gave you back your estate. Told the Moors what their estate is. Right? But this thought, this black ideal that, well, yeah, we'll unite and they can call themselves black still. Like, it can't work. It's like, it's you know what we're creating by doing that as Moors? Right? This is for Moors that want to know how come there's so much confusion in the Moorish movement. Cause black thought. When you punch up Moor Science Temple and you're confused about it, Black Thought. Because that's the author of confusion. Right? Because that's not a position. Obama chose to expand his remarks beyond the early 60s period, past the triumphs of the civil rights, which was voted unconstitutional 1800s, and 2013 he's talking about civil rights stuff. Voting Rights Act, to give a mini lecture on what went wrong. In his estimation, with the Black Freedom Movement, the result was a brief but vicious slew of slurs against African Americans, right? Another false tag again, right? African has to do with the Moors. Okay? African has to do with the Moors. African is not about that piece of land. Right? Leo Africanus, who visits Shanghai in 1512, is first to write an account of sub-Saharan Africa that is translated into a language other than Arabic. Michelangelo completes his painting of the Sistine Chapel. That's 1512. Okay. This is the royal kingdoms of Ghana, Mali, and Shanghai. Right? Patricia and Frederick McKissack. Page 11. Oral accounts, early written histories, and modern archaeology. The first scholars to write about Ghana never visited it personally. Al-Bukhari, an 11th century Moorish nobleman who lived in Cordoba, Spain, then controlled by Islamic Moors, was curious about the people and customs below the Sahara. Later he became an authority on a place he had only visited through eyes of others. He spent a lifetime compiling records, documents, and interviews with hundreds of people who had visited the Western Sudan. Unfortunately, only 2 of his geographical works survive, and even his most well-known work, the Book of Routes and Kingdoms, is incomplete. Okay, so that's Al-Bukhari. Al-Bakri. Really forgot to mark the page, but anyways. Alright. Leo Africanus was the first person to write an eyewitness account of the Shanghai Empire. He was born in Granada, Spain. The same year, Sunni Ali Bear began his reign as Al-Hassan ibn Muhammad al-Wazan al-Zayati. Granada had been surrendered to Ferdinand and Isabella, who immediately issued the Edict of Expulsion in 1492, ordering the removal of all Muslims and Jews who refused to convert to Christianity. Like thousands of others, Leo went to Fez with his parents. The returning Moors were not greeted with welcome arms. Forced to live in special quarters, Leo studied at one of the Fez centers for aliens. Then he became a traveler, venturing down into the Sudan, where he visited Timbuktu, Gao, and Jen. In 1518, bound for Constantinople in an Arab galley, he was captured off the coast of Tunisia by Christians. Impressed with his learning, they presented the young Muslim to Pope Leo X. The Pope freed Leo, who then converted to Christianity, was baptized, and took the name Giovanni Leone, which later became Leo Africanus, Leo the African, or Leo the Moor. Right? The words are synonymous. According to Obama, black folks lost their way. Right? This is Obama talking. Black folks lost their way when legitimate grievances against police brutality tipped into accuse making for criminal behavior. What the hell does that mean? Which particular incidents is he referring to in which blacks use police brutality to somehow mask criminal activity? If he means the Black Panther Party, which I suspect, then the president should say so and open up the discussion on who the real criminals and assassins were in the late 60s and early 70s. But like any cheap white politician, and then whites hyphenated, Obama spews a mouthful of bile and then moves on to the next rant. Obama bemoans that at some unspecified point in the black struggle, the transformative message of unity and brotherhood was drowned out by the language of recrimination. Who was recriminating against whom, Mr. President? Since Obama was lecturing black people, and we know he never lectures white people, he must have been talking about black militants of some sort. But he won't say, preferring to leave his meaning to the audience's imagination. Then Obama moved in for the big slapdown. Quote, "What had once been a call for equality of opportunity," said Obama, "the chance for all Americans to work hard and get ahead, was too often framed as a mere desire for government support, as if we had no agency in our own liberation, as if poverty was an excuse for not raising your child, and the bigotry of others was reason to give up on yourself." Right. In that one long sentence, Obama resurrects Ronald Reagan's phantom armies of welfare queens. He appears to take a cheap swipe at calls for black reparations, and he once again joins with his whatever, and they just go on how, he's the bad guy beating up on black people. Black people need to get beat up, and you're not going to listen to, just like he said, right, sounding like a racist white man. All right, so why don't you listen to the white man? Because you listen to him for everything else. If Obama sounds like a racist white man, then you should probably consider what he's saying if you're so-called a black person, right? So, what did Obama really say? Right? So this is a little excerpt from his, what do they call it? Anti-black rant, right? He did to the King family, whatever, skip all that stuff, right? 5 decades ago today, Americans came to this honored place to lay claim to a promise made at our founding. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the first lines of Obama's speech, and black people are mad. when he just told them that if they consider themselves Americans, quote unquote, right, they have to lay claim to this promise that was made in ancient times. And he goes back to the Declaration. Now, you go on. In 1963, almost 200 years after those words were set to paper, a full century after a great war was fought and emancipation proclaimed, that promise, those truths, remain unmet. And so they came by the thousands from every corner of our country, men and women, young and old, blacks who longed for freedom and whites who could no longer accept freedom for themselves while witnessing the subjugation of others. For what does it profit a man, Dr. King would ask, to sit at an integrated lunch counter if he can't afford the meal? This idea that one's liberty is linked to one's livelihood and the pursuit of happiness requires the dignity of work, the skills to find work, decent pay, measure of material security. This idea was not new. Lincoln himself understood the Declaration of Independence in such terms, as a promise that in due time the weight should be lifted from the shoulders of all men and that all should have an equal chance. Right? For over a decade, working Americans of all races have seen their wages and incomes stagnate even as corporate profits soar, even as the pay of a fortunate few explodes. Inequality has steadily risen over the decades. Upward mobility has become harder. Too many communities across this country, in cities and suburbs and rural hamlets, the shadow of poverty casts a pall over our youth. Their lives a fortress of substandard schools and diminished prospects, inadequate health care, and perennial violence. The March on Washington teaches us that we are not trapped by the mistakes of history, that we are masters of our own fate. But it also teaches us that the promise of this nation will only be kept when we work together. We'll have to reignite the embers of empathy and fellow feeling, the coalition of conscience that found expression in this place 50 years ago. And I believe that spirit is there, that truth force inside each of us. I see it when a white mother recognizes her own daughter in the face of a poor black child. I see it when the black youth thinks of his own grandfather in the dignified steps of an elderly white man. It's there when the native born recognizing that striving spirit of the new immigrant. When the interracial couple connects the pain of a gay couple who are discriminated against and understand it unknown. That's where courage comes from. When we turn not from each other or on each other, but towards one another, and we find that we do not walk alone. Everyone who realizes those glorious patriots knew that one day that change does not come from Washington, but to Washington. That change has always been built on our willingness, we the people, to take on the mantle of citizenship. You are marching. And that's the lesson of our past, that the promise of tomorrow, that in the face of impossible odds, people who love their country can change it. And when millions of Americans, and he didn't say white Americans, so he's talking to a particular people, that when millions of Americans of every race and every region every faith and every station can join together in a spirit of brotherhood, then those mountains will be made low, and those rough places will be made plain, and those crooked places they straighten out towards grace, and we will vindicate the faith of those who sacrificed so much to live up to the true meaning of our creed as one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty. Right? And they're mad at this man, right, for telling them how it is, right? Like straight telling them how it is. There's no other way for it to be told. And they still don't listen. They still want to go with the whole black game and white game, right? And once you go there, you can't blame people. That's like, right? They're gonna say that, oh yeah, racial discrimination, whatever. All right, so Burnside, Nova Scotia, right? This was in the news up here, right? Leon's furniture employee is alleging racial discrimination after he says a statue was lynched in effigy at a store. So they have this place, Leon's furniture store. So in the furniture store, some people took a little mannequin, a little black mannequin, and put it on a noose and hung it off a little freaking light fixture or something, right? Right? Ellsworth Bottomley complained, right? So Ellsworth, right? Bottomley, okay, complained to the Nova Scotia Human Rights Commission that a number of racial incidents occurred during his 2 years working at Burnside store. All right. So there's been a number of incidents, and they're just now publishing something. If this was some national from some other country, it'll be in the news the first time that it happened. But because it's black, right? It's like Obama was breaking down. We are masters of our own fate. If we're masters of our own fate, and you're going to go to a human rights commission set up by some Europeans in your own land, because Bottomley is African Nova Scotian, right? African Nova Scotian, wherever that is, said a fellow driver sent him a text message making comments about the intelligence of black people, right? The intelligence of black people, right? Why they say the slaves are dumb? Because you call yourself black people, and you're really brown people. And if we call ourselves brown people, then we could unite with all these other brown people on the planet who have something, right? The brown people in India are they're not even making millions off the hair industry, right? The so-called little templates, people are not, they're just giving up their hair free. They're never getting a cut, right? But they're not complaining. They're just going to cut their hair, give it to the temple. There's no racism, right? Because they control their own destiny. We're masters of our own fate, right? So Bottomley goes to the Human Rights Commission and tells them that someone hung a black statue in a window at a store. His lawyer, Lisa Terrell, called it a lynching effigy. 45 centimeter high statue, which Leon offers for sale, was hanged by the neck with electrical tape. Its eyes were painted white in what Kerry calls blackface style, right? Jokers playing black stuff, right? There's no unity in blackness, right? There's no unity in blackness. Everybody knows what's up. Moriori, Moriori. Moriori are the indigenous people of Chatham Island, east of New Zealand, in the Pacific Ocean. These people lived by a code of non-violence and passive resistance, which made it easier for Taranaki Maori invaders to nearly exterminate them in 1830s. And then here's the fam. Right. And as we always talk about, they're Moors. Right. Or they're dark-skinned people. They're not black people. They're dark-skinned people. But they're not black. Right. And to be correct politically, we say that they're Moors. And their name, Moriori, proves that they're Moors. And there's nothing to even argue. Right? And then this is just to show the connection between the Moors on a Maxim and the Moors in southwest Maxim. Right? The painting on the face and the, what is that called? The skin so-called deformation is cultural. And this is on two different sides of the oceans. Right? Right? Like that's a sister. She's not a black lady, a black girl. Her hair is black, she doesn't look like her hair. Right? More. But with the eyes that make you think that they're from Asia. How come they're from Asia and look so dark skinned? Right? Because Moors. Moors is the unity. Look around the world. Look around the world and just look at how people in other places, in other countries dress compared to black people and Negro people and colored people and African American people and African Canadian people and Jamaicans and the Caribbean people and the West Indians, and look at the difference. Right? Turban, vest. Right? With the quote-unquote Paki dot on the turban. Right? Moors. Look at the vest. This is a countryman in Taiwan or something, dressed like a Moor. Right? And we don't want to be this. We want to be everything else but this. Right? Again, Taiwan. Right? Turban. Mother and child, turban. More is the unity. What, like Jolie said, what do you want me to do? Kill you to accept this? Like more is the unity. You're playing yourself. It's a black game and still pushing the black like, right? Turbans. It's Asia. Taiwan. People with turbans like that. Indigenous people, Moors. It's a fact that we're Moors, and that's the unity. That's the theme for today. Moor is the unity. Don't let these people fool you with their black crap. The unity is Moor. Everybody's Moor across the planet. All across the world. Is Moors everywhere. Look at turbans. Right? Like what's it take? They're not concerned about black people, white people and all that. They're indigenous, aboriginal. Right? Okay. Moors. As soon as you see turban, it's Moors automatically. Don't even ask any questions about anything. About what if and but and all that. Forget all that crap. As soon as you see a turban, that's Moors. Automatically. As soon as you see somebody say something's barbarous and barbaric or whatever, that's Berbers. That's Moors. Immediately. Don't even think nothing else. Right? Look at us. There's no third party perspective. This is us. This is our fam. Right? You think this is something that man made up? I just made this up. You can't just make this up. You can't make this up. This is your birthright. Okay, you can't make this up. This can't be Photoshopped. Moors is international. Everybody knows what's up, except black people. And always mad why people don't want to accept your foolishness. Because nobody moves like that. Moors. Right? Who else reps crescent and stars other than Moors? Is it a crescent and star? Right? You know, this is the face I give when somebody says, I'm black. Right? This is the face I give when I ask them again. And they tell me they're black. Right? Moors. Scimitar up. Okay? Scimitar up. As soon as you see a scimitar, immediately Moors. Don't even think nothing else. As soon as you see the curved sword, Moors. When I saw somebody, I don't care who else you saw with it. Right? Moors. It's not even Moors. That's all it's about. That's unity all across the world. That's the unity. Right? Everybody knows that's what the unity is. Right? Moors. That's what the unity is. Right? So you see sashes and shawls and headwear that's extravagant and feathers and all that. Moors. Right? This is not a Back to Africa movement. This is a Moorish, divine and national movement. And we don't cater to black stuff. Nothing personal. It's just that doesn't exist around the planet. Everybody's Moors everywhere you go. That's all there is, Moors everywhere you go. Right? Don't be fooled by dumb people who think they're smart because they have degrees, because they studied some archaeology and they went on a plane somewhere and saw some indigenous people and talked to them, and then come back and tell you that, yeah, the black people in whatever said that, you know, we were the first people in the planet. Yeah, the black people in Egypt were the first writers and the first builders, and yeah, right, black people, there's no such thing as black people. You're Moors. Just call yourself what you are and save yourself a problem. And the problems that's coming, because you already know King Alfred plan, right? Japanese fezzes, right? People can say whatever they want, but the only brimless hat is a fez, and anything else that's added to it or whatever, great. It's your birthright. Do what you want with it. It's your birthright, right? Look at how they dress, and keep in mind, Moorish. All those pictures, you know, people wrapped in cloth and all that. Moorish. This is Japan. They know what's up, right? In Japan, they know what's up. And we better get down what's up. Not we, but we, our people, need to get down what's up. Right. From Morocco to Australia, the healing power of the fez. There's some Europeans. It was a case of, if the hat fits, wear it. One of the most unusual requests that the team at The View from Fez received in recent months was an appeal from a bunch of clowns for 30 fez hats. Literally from a bunch of clowns. Right? And then the black thought, the black infiltrated thought is, oh, they're saying that Moors are clowns, and then you get mad. Now you didn't even read nothing yet. Right? Already in your mind, you see some Europeans and you think, oh, they're wearing the fez, they're saying clowns, oh, like, forget this. Right? The clowns are the humor valets of Australia, and we're about to embark on some medical research with dementia patients. According to the theory, a dose of laughter may be just the medicine elderly people need to combat dementia. Thankfully, either the hats were big enough or the head small enough, and the Australian humor valets launched into action. The valets are part of a work of Jean Paul Bell, right? Bell, a man whose face is described as the face that could launch 1,000 laughs. Jean Paul Bell is one of Australia's great humor humanitarians. He believes that humor helps to put life into perspective. It helps us understand the orthodox, tolerate the unpleasant, overcome the unexpected, and survive the unbearable. Since creating and co-founding the Humor Foundation and their Clown Doctor program in 1996, John Paul has moved on and found a new company of valets who are busy showing the world that laughter is the best medicine. In 2010, he wrote Laughter is the Best Medicine, which chronicles the experiences of a number of humor valets as they do their rounds in children's hospitals around Australia. Since December, staff member, an initiative of Arts Health Institute. It was developed during a study by the University of NSW Dementia Collaborative Research Center, which looked at the effects of humor therapy on 400 people in 36 aged care centers. The research findings found that humor therapy could be used to manage agitation experienced by people living with dementia. More than that, the therapy was found to be as effective as antipsychotic drugs that are used to treat people with dementia. It can also improve communication and trigger memories. Right. So there's the Valleys, Europeans in Australia doing the humanitarian work that Moors are supposed to be doing. But since Moors won't do it, they'll just dress like Moors and do it. Because they know that the only people who could ever do it is Moors. Why didn't they dress like black people? Why didn't they dress like African kings and queens of Egypt? Why didn't they dress like the mighty, space alien people from other planets that everybody knows is us as well? They chose to dress like Moors, to go around and do humanitarian work. There's John Paul in his little piece, right? Dressing like Moors, doing humanitarian work. Humor valleys. Right? Right. Now there's a sculptor, artist, photographer by the name of Maimouna Gueresi, Maimouna, and Guerresi, right? So just going with the theme, right? We're not black people, we're not African people. Everybody knows what's up except us, right? So there's one of the photographs, okay? Right? And notice the no legs in the cape, right, to show mysticism and unknown and, right, more science, okay? And then obviously it's a brother, and obviously that's a fez on his head, okay? And then people say, oh, well, no, not really, because, and they'll talk, whatever. Okay, fine, cool, okay. This is one of the sculpting, one of the sculptures right here. Now, peep this. Right? This is a sculpture. Right? This is pretty crazy. Right? Again, going with the mysticism. Okay? And obviously, that's a fez. Well, no, not really. That's just, the ethers, which is the ceiling, coming down and grabbing him by the head. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, this one. Just showing that everybody knows what's up. Even some sculptors. Because more is the unity. Attaching yourself to more, that's the unity. Nobody else is going to tell you, because all of them are getting paid to tell you be black. That's why they won't tell you. They should tell you, but why would they? Why tell you if you want to be black. And I know that I can get thousands, millions, I can get places to do marches where, you know, the average person goes, they're going to have to rent it, you know what I mean? They'll just get it free, street locked off, don't have to pay off no police or nothing like that. They just block streets for you so you can have your whatever, right? But average person, they have to rent the police, right? You know, get millions from Gaddafi, you know, to start hair care products and stuff, and you can't see nothing on the shelf yet, you know, right? People get checks to keep our people black, and that inception into the thought stream of more science is a monkey wrench, right? Have you do crazy stuff, have you do stuff you're not supposed to be doing, you know, following people who's telling people $1,000, and you're willingly going to sit down next to that person knowing that you watched this or whatever, or you seen this on YouTube, or somebody showed you this, you know, he's talking about your boy. Well, your boy charged somebody $1,000 for nationality, for some papers, whatever the $1,000 was for, right? And you're just gonna sit next to this guy, and you know that he's jacking people. Right? Cool, no problem. Do your thing. Do your thing, cause it's your birthright. I know what I'm doing with mine. What you most want to do with your birthright, that's all on you, because it's your birthright. In 1491, Muhammad the 12th was summoned by Ferdinand and Isabella to surrender the city of Granada, and on his refusal, it was besieged by the Castilians. Eventually, on the 2nd of January 1492, Granada was surrendered. In most sumptuous attire, the royal procession moved from Santa Fe to a place a little more than a mile from Granada, where Ferdinand took up his position by the banks of the Genil. A private letter written by an eyewitness to the Bishop of Leon only 6 days after the event recorded the scene. With the royal banners and the cross of Christ visibly on the red walls of the Alhambra, the Moorish Sultan, with about 8 or 100 on horseback, or 80 or 100 on horseback, very well dressed, went forth to kiss the hand of their highnesses. According to the final capitulation agreement, both Isabella and Ferdinand will decline the offer, and the key to Granada will pass to Spanish hands without Muhammad the 12th having to kiss the hands of Los Reyes, as the Spanish royal couple became known. The indomitable mother of Muhammad the 12th insisted on sparing her son this final humiliation. The Moorish Sultan was received with much love and courtesy, and there they handed over to him his son, who had been a hostage from the time of his capture, and as they stood there came about 400 captives. Of this who were in the enclosure, with the cross and a solemn procession singing the Te Deum Laudamus, T-E-D-E-U-M L-A-U-D-A-M-U-S, and their highnesses dismounted to adore the cross to the accompaniment of the tears and reverential devotion of the crowd, not least of the Cardinal and Master of San Diego and Duke of Cadiz, and all other grandees and gentlemen and people who stood there. And there was no one who did not weep abundantly with pleasure, giving thanks to our Lord for what they saw, for they could not keep back the tears. And the Moorish Sultan and the Moors who were with him, for their part, could not disguise the sadness and pain they felt for the joy of the Christians, and certainly with much reason on account of their loss for Granada and the most distinguished and chief thing in the world. Christopher Columbus to have been present, he refers to surrender on the first page of his Diario de las Derrotas. After your highnesses ended the war of the Moors who reigned in Europe, and finished the war of the great city of Granada, where this present year, 1492, on the 2nd January, I saw the royal banners of your highnesses planted by force of arms on the towers of the Alhambra, which is the fortress of the said city. I saw the Moorish Sultan issue from the gates of the said city and kiss the royal hands of your highnesses. Right? But remember, they released him without him having to kiss the hands. You know, Christopher Columbus a liar. Right? So there's the Sultan. Right? And as you can see, fess up, because everybody knows that if you don't push yourself in Moorish or more M-U-U-R, once you don't have that appellation, that attachment, you have no connection to the human family, because the human family is Moors. The human family are Moors, and Moor is the unity, and everybody who knows that the time is up is just waiting for so-called black people to get their stuff together. Like they're waiting in vain. They're waiting, and they know that the time is right now. Like they know the time's right now. They know about the prophecy about there's going to be an Asiatic president. That manifested. Right? The prophecy manifested. Okay? Everything is Moors. Right? The castle of the Moors is a hilltop medieval castle located in central Portuguese civil parish of Santa Maria in the municipality of Sintra, taken by Christian forces from the Moors after the fall of Lisbon. It was an important strategic point during the Reconquista and classified as a national monument. The castle was constructed during the 8th to 9th century, during the period of Arab occupation of the Iberian Peninsula. Right? So they're saying that the castle of the Moors was taken away from the Moors, and it's called the Castle of the Moors, but they're also saying that it was during the Arab occupation of the Iberian Peninsula, letting all the black people out there know who want to push the Marcus Garvey Jr., the Arabs were the ones that sold us into slavery, so we shouldn't like the Arabs. Well, the Arabs were Moors, which is us. So as much as we built all these beautiful things, and there was, there was schools and libraries and etc., etc., we did evil stuff too that we have to claim. We did stuff that we shouldn't have did. We have to claim that stuff too. You can't sweep that under the rug, because everybody knows about the dirt that we did. Right? Because it's public record. Right? Everybody knows what we did. Right? And they're waiting for us, because we have fixing to do. And nobody's going to start fixing until we start fixing. And there's no other options for us. Right? We have to start doing what we're supposed to do. Right? Remember, the unity is Moors. Okay? Moorish leaders' historical message to America. In connections with the aims, objects, rules, and regulations of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I deem it proper to submit to you a brief statement of our organization, covering its inception, rise, and progress, and of the Mohammedan religion, which I hope will be satisfactory to you and be the means of causing you at all times to adhere to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice in your relations with mankind in general. Right? Okay, so, everybody wants to say the Prophet said, right? Okay, well, the Prophet said that I hope him submitting this brief statement about the Moorish Science Temple and the rise and progress of Mohammedan religion will be satisfactory to you and be the means of causing you at all times to adhere to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice in your relations with mankind in general. I further most anxiously hope this brief statement would help you to more clearly see the duty and wisdom of at all times upholding those fundamental principles which are desired for our salvation of our posterity, such as, for all the people who said Noble Drew Ali never talked about law, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance and unity, tolerance and estate. Unity is a state. So he's telling you now what he did with the estate. This is right after unity. Right after unity, he's telling you what he did with the estate. We organized as the Moorish Temple of Science in the year 1925 and were legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of the state of Illinois, November 29th, 1926. The name Moorish Temple of Science was changed to Moorish Science Temple of America, May 1928, in accordance with the legal requirements of the Secretary of the State of Illinois. The object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity and teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens, right? Remember the valets in them, right? Keep in mind the valets when we're talking about this part right here, right? And keep in mind that they were dressed like Moors. The object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity and teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. A national organization with a Rotarian complexion as it relates to branch temples became obvious with the increasing number of inquiries from men and women in different sections of the country concerning the purpose of the organization There are branch temples in 15 different states at this time. Since the work of the Moorish Science Temple of America was largely religious, the organization has been legally changed to a religious corporation, and an affidavit to this effect has been properly filed in Cook County Recorder's Office of Illinois. Inspired by the lofty teachings of the Quran, we have it as the revealed word of God Allah. We shall foster the principles of its teachings among our members. This is our religious privilege as American citizens. Remember Obama talking about Americans, right? Under the laws of one of the greatest documents of all times, the American Constitution. The Mohammedan religion is the least appreciated and probably the most misunderstood of the world's great religions. This is especially true in our Western world. Our Western world. Right? Our Western world. Not white man, or the wilderness of North America or nothing like that. Our Western world. Try to understand that Mohammedanism stands for, and some of the things, try to understand what Mohammedanism stands for, and some of the things it has contributed to the world. Muhammad was the founder of the Mohammedan religion. It originated 13 centuries ago on the Arabian Peninsula, where the streams of commerce and culture met and mingled in the Middle Ages, where the markets of exchange were stationed for treasures of India and the products of the Mediterranean coast. There, this religion was established in the unprecedented short period of 20 years, and unlike many other religions, without the aid of any royal patronage and support. Buddhism had its Ashoka, Judaism its Joshua, Christianity its Constantine. But Mohammedanism had no person of royal rank and power to assist in its establishment and spread. Right? Keep in mind what he's saying. Right? Muhammad was the father of the Mohammedan religion. It originated 13 centuries ago on the Arabian Peninsula, where the streams of commerce and culture met and mingled with the Middle Ages. You have to do like Killer Priest right now, and you have to make your mind the movie theater right now, and everything that we're reading, you're visually projecting that in your mind, and I bet you're going to be visualizing some Moorish architectural stuff just because that's what's in your memory bank. Guaranteed, right? While we're reading this and you're hearing certain things, visualize how the people look like. What do they look like? How do these people look like? When it says commerce, picture the market, how the market looks in your mind. And I guarantee you're not going to be seeing no black people there. You're not going to be seeing any Negro, colored, African. In your own mind, you're going to be seeing Moors running those stalls, and when you put this literature to your mentality, right? There, this religion was established in the unprecedented short period of 20 years, and unlike many religions, without the aid of any royal patronage and support. Buddhism had its Ashoka, Judaism its Joshua, Christianity its Constantine, but Mohammedanism had no person of royal rank and power to assist in its establishment and spread. Today, this religion is acknowledged by nearly 250 million souls, not people, and extends over an area equal to 1/3 of the globe. From Arabia, it spread eastward over Persia, Turkestan, Afghanistan, westward across Syria, Asia Minor, Turkey, southward to Africa, covering more than half of that continent, It found its way to India and beyond, to the islands of Sumatra, Java, and Borneo. To the early representatives of this faith, the world's debt is incalculably great, for it was they who transmitted the treasures of Greek literature from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. They who originated the graceful forms of which the Taj Mahal and the Alhambra are the most famous examples. It was they who contributed to the sciences of algebra and chemistry, astronomy, and medicine. They who dotted the Saracen Empire with universities and who built at Baghdad and Cairo, the most renowned universities in the world. During those centuries, the ecclesiastical despotism, when the Christian church suppressed all intellectual activities save those that were theological, causing the talent that reproduces to supplant the genius that creates. Mohammedans did all in their power to encourage and stimulate research in every branch of human inquiry. The Moors, as Mohammedans, added to the beauty and grandeur of Spain. For centuries, art, science, literature, and chivalry flourished among them, while the rest of Europe was still sunk in the gloom of the Dark Ages. The Moors were the most ingenious and industrious of the subjects of Spain. Their expulsion from Spain in 1492 was one of the chief causes of decadence of that country, for both agriculture and industry fell into decay after their departure. Mohammedanism makes no distinction between high and low, rich and poor. It is like the sky, it has room for all. The Quran should be of interest to all readers. It is the Bible of the Mohammedans, ruling over the customs and actions of over 200 millions of people. If a word of importance, whether considered from a religious, philosophical, or literary viewpoint, in the promotion of plans for the betterment of mankind, there has ever come some kind of opposition. And strange as it may seem, such opposition has come from sources where there were no ideas or the lack of courage to force attention to ideas. Whether in church, state, or the social community, any attempt to do anything out of the usual way seldom fails to receive criticism. Not because the course cannot be pursued legally or that it is unreasonable, but because it has been considered in terms as new. The Moor Science Temple of America has received some opposition and criticism. In the main, the opposition has come from certain Christian ministers. They have expressed themselves to be opposed to our propagation of the Mohammedan religion, possibly because the promotion of the Mohammedan faith among our people in the United States is considered by them in terms as something new. Whatever the reasons may be for their opposition, the legal right to oppose citizens, individuals, and organizations alike for their religious belief does not exist in the United States. The door of religious freedom made by the American Constitution swings open to all, and people may enter through it and worship as they desire. Without religious freedom, no search for truth would be possible. Without religious freedom, no discovery of truth would be useful. Without religious freedom, religious progress would be checked, and we would no longer march forward toward the nobler life which the future holds for the races of men. Without religious freedom, there would be no inspiration to lift our heads and gaze with fearlessness into the vast beyond, seeking a hope eternal. It is a sad weakness in us, after all, to oppose our fellow men for their religious beliefs, and if there are angels who record the sorrows of men, as well as their sins, they certainly know how many and deep are the useless sorrows that spring forth from such opposition. Possibly love and time will cancel our hatreds in this regard and prove that in mankind tolerance is better than unwarranted opposition. In connection with our religious beliefs and aims, We must promote economic security. The preaching of economic security among us is by no means as widespread and intensive as the circumstances demand. This is back then. No other one thing is more needed among us at this time than great economic power. Better positions for our men and women, more business employment for our boys and girls, and bigger incomes will follow our economic security. We shall be secure in nothing until we have economic power. A beggar people cannot develop the highest in them, nor can they attain to a genuine enjoyment of the spiritualities of life. Our men, women, and children should be taught to believe in the capacity of our group to succeed in business, in spite of the trials and failures of some of them. Trials and failures in business are by no means confined to any particular group of people. Talking all the black people, blaming them coming into your community, taking the building and making something, and then you supporting it and saying you have no money and they need to give something back to you, right? Wouldn't be going on if we had our own stuff, right? And if we would only consider that no Jawali did everything already, all you have to do is find the right temple, join the temple. And when you join the temple, you have access to the estate, which is the unity. And the trials and failures and tribulations that we go through is nothing new. It's like the bus. Another one's coming, so don't run for the bus because you're going to trip, fall. Everybody's going to laugh at you on the bus. Right? Another one's coming. Right? There's an obligation that we have to make sure that we, right, again, our men, women, and children should be taught to believe in the capacity of our group to succeed in business. We have to be taught to believe in the capacity of our group, unity, to succeed in business, in spite of the trials and failures of some of them, because some are going to fail. But it's cool. We keep going. Some business ventures of all people fail. We have many men and women among our people who are qualified both by training and experience, who are shining lights in the business world of all people. It is a sad weakness in us as a people that we have withheld the very encouragement, support, and patronage that would have made some of our worthy business ventures a grand success. And worst of all, have joined in the condemnations of them when they failed. Except in cases of actual dishonesty, discourtesy, lack of service, and actual unreliability, our business enterprises in every field of endeavor should have fullest of confidence, cooperation, and patronage whenever and wherever they can be given. Right? So remember, except in cases of actual dishonesty, discourtesy, lack of service, and actual unreliability. So paying somebody $500 for birthrights and then calling them on the phone and then the phone gets disconnected or they're not returning emails, that's unreliability. Right? So that has nothing to do with should we support them. No, we don't support dirty people. Right? We support people who are sincere in their deeds and they're doing it because they love the Prophet and they love their people and they want to see better out of our people. And we're going to do what we have to do to make that happen. Right? Whether it's go and get into city parades so that people can see Moors and see that they're part of a parade and something's gonna go off. Now, hold on a second. The Moors are in a parade, and they're not looking at it like, oh yeah, the temple of Moors over there. They're looking at it as Moors, because Moor is the unity. Once you have fez on, Moroccan flag, United States amity banner, turbans, circle 7, that's Moors. It's part of the culture. It's not unexpected. Right? Read carefully the doctrines of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It contains our hopes, aims, rules, and articles of religion. Every member should have a copy. Right? Every member should have a copy of our articles of religion. Every member should have a copy. Right? And that's our divine constitution and bylaws. That's our articles that make up what we are and what we're supposed to do and the power that is vested in us. But you only get that if you're a member. So people who are out there that say, well, I'm a Moor, and then they make their own nationality card and say Moor Science Temple on it, right? And then they're pushing this idea like, their Moor Science Temple of America, like Grand Sheik Nature told me a few years ago. Not because they have a sign that says Moor Science Temple of America means that they're Moor Science Temple of America. Right? So again, read carefully the doctrines, plural. Right? Read carefully the doctrines of the Moor Science Temple of America. It contains our hopes, aims, rules, and articles of religion. Every member should have a copy. In conclusion, I urge you to remember there is work enough for all to do in helping to build a better world. The problems of life are largely social and economic. In a profound sense, they are moral and spiritual. Have lofty conceptions of your duties to your country and fellow man in general, and especially those with whom you deal. This includes such honesty and righteousness as will cause you to put yourself in the other fellow's place. Look for the best in others and give them the best that is in you. Have a deeper appreciation for womanhood. Brighten the hopes of our youth in order that their courage be increased to dare to do wondrous things. Adhere at all times to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I am your affectionate leader. I shall continue to labor day and night, both in public and private, for your good, thereby contributing to the welfare of our country and its people as a whole, which is unity. Right? So his position, right? His direct position is unity. That's why he didn't come and say that we were anything other than Moors when it comes down to our identification. What are we to be called? Right? We are not Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779, right? And lasted until 1886 during the time of slavery. But this is a new time now, and all men must proclaim their free national name. Right? To be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali the Prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Right? So when we talk unity with our people, right, we have to, and like there's no option, right, we have to speak as Moors. You can't speak as anything else, right? And our thing is constantly putting out the information to back up that we're Moors, to counteract all these crazy people out here trying to say that we're something other than what we are, when everybody knows. Like, showed you all the pictures with crescent moons on their turbans and all that. If somebody has a crescent moon, that's Moorish. That's what it is, right? Again, God is black, right? Okay, and some people, because you see by the name, right, they at least had common sense that if they are so-called black power, that they don't call themselves X or something stupid. They call themselves Aboriginal indigenous name that doesn't have any ties to Europe, right? Or Pale Nations names. Page 78. George G.M. James, quoting from Sedgwick and Tyler, History of Science, and Zeller's History of Philosophy Introduction, says, with the abolition of the Egyptian mystery system, intellectual darkness spread over Christian Europe and the Greco-Roman world. For 10 centuries during that time, knowledge had disappeared. The Greeks showed no creative powers and were unable to improve upon knowledge which they had received from the Egyptians. In 8th century AD, the Moors, i.e. natives of Mauritania in North Africa, invaded Spain and took with them the Egyptian culture which they had preserved. Knowledge in the ancient days was centralized, i.e. it belonged to a common parent and system, i.e. the wisdom, teaching, or mysteries of Egypt, which the Greeks used to call Sophia. Sedgwick and Tyler's History of Science say the people of North Africa were neighbors of the Egyptians and became the custodians of Egyptian culture, which they spread through considerable portions of Africa, Asia Minor, and Europe. During their occupation of Spain, the Moors displayed with considerable credit and grandeur of African culture and civilization. The schools and libraries which they established became famous throughout the medieval world. Science and learning were cultivated and taught. The schools of Cordova, Toledo, Seville, Saragossa attained such celebrity that they, like their parent Egypt, attracted students from all parts of the Western world. Right? All parts of the Western world. Right? All parts of the Western world. Not the Eastern world, but the Western world. Which means in the 8th century, when the Moors were ruling Spain, people were over here going to Spain. So-called Spain, Al-Andalus. Right? They attained such celebrity that they, like their parent, Egypt, attracted students from all parts of the Western world. And from them arose the most famous African professors that the world ever known in medicine, surgery, astronomy, and mathematics. But these people from North Africa did more than merely distinguish themselves in Spain. They were really the recognized custodians of African culture to whom the world looked for enlightenment. Consequently, through the medium of the ancient Arabic language, philosophy and the various branches of science were disseminated. Hitti, History of Arabs, says, in addition, the Moors kept up the constant contact with Mother Egypt, for they had established caliphates not only at Baghdad and Cordova, but also at Cairo in Egypt. Great European scientists like Roger Bacon and Johann Kepler, Copernicus, and others obtained their science education through this source. Others, such as Karl Marx, Albert Einstein, Sigmund Freud, were blacks, quote in brackets, Semites, and there is an unbroken scientific progression between the Memphite atom theory and Einstein's famous equation E equals mc squared. However, as the old and the new world continued to clash, African culture and religion began to suffer in defeat. In the northern Mediterranean basin, for instance, the Eurasians lost no time in discarding African influence in their lives where possible. Everywhere the whites had the upper hand, African culture and religion were often first casualties, right? So you see how in the Moors part, they talk about the Moors and the Moors this and the Moors that, and as soon as they're done talking about Moors, they go right back to the African black and treat the Moors as these people from Spain only, when they said that everybody in the world knows and acknowledges the Moors and who the Moors are, right? It's not for people to just say they don't want to be a Moor. Like when we bring up Moors to them, well, no, I don't want to be a Moor because, you know, I seen on the news that the Moors or whatever. Well, regardless you see on the news, that's yourself you seen on the news, because you're a Moor too, right? And Moor is the unity. There is no unity other than Moor. If you're not saying that you're a Moor, then continue spinning tires or whatever, because there's going to be absolutely no progression under those labels. Nothing personal. You know, I mean, I know people down with the black stuff, but there's no progression in that, and there's no uniting with that. After the Prophet said, we're not Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian. So those names are given to slaves by slaveholders. So why would you want to be a name that was given to you by a slaveholder willingly? And if you be that name, then you're consenting. And if you're consenting, then that means that contract isn't going to be void, right? So it's imperative that when Moors, conscious Moors, hear those Moors out there talk with this black thought, that you chop them down immediately. You have no time to be playing around with that, right? Like there's no time to be playing around with that, right? Noble Drew Ali, I am the fifth and last prophet, and I am 5 times more powerful than I was before. We, as a people, we the people, right, were buried 5 times deeper in sinful ways than any nation enslaved before us. So they're admitting that everybody's been in slavery. So if everybody's been in slavery, including us, we can't say that guy did it. Everybody got there. Everybody was a slave. So Just leave it alone. You don't need payback for anything. Everybody was a slave. And the real reason why they're not giving us reparations is because we have an estate. And we don't need reparations. We need to proclaim our nationality. And then everything that we want, that we say that they owe to us, would be handed on to you. The Holy Prophet was ordained by the great God to be 5 times greater and more powerful than the prophets were before. Muhammad was the seal of the prophets to bring the tenets of Islam. Yet every nation, yet every major prophet is the last prophet to be raised from amongst us, those of his especial nation to be redeemed. Some Asiatic Muslims have interpreted this seal of the prophets into the Moorish being unworthy of Allah's love and mercy. After enduring the worst system of chattel slavery ever imposed on a people and sanctioned by the religions of the earth, having been denationalized and stripped of divine creed, some think the Moorish remain the rejected cornerstone of the human family. The Moorish have earned the divine right and are most deserved of a holy prophet. No messenger would be apt enough to save us. Surely Allah knows what men know not. Okay. Where we at? 3 minutes. Right. At the first convention in 1928, the garment I have on represents power, and if you obey my voice, you will have power with me. I am going to free you, though it's hard because of your mixture, which brings about many different spirits. When you fail to hear my voice, you are lost. It is against the law to stand up in any audience intoxicated. The leader is not to stay out all night giving earnings away to someone else. You who are heads of temples, it is easy for you to destroy the influence of the temple. Now lace up your shoes and get right. You stop figuring out your way, how your salvation shall come. Just follow me. You can say one thing, Moors. You have made a start for the kingdom. If you want success, you must follow the Prophet. Husbands, take care of your wives and families. Wives, keep your homes and children clean. I have done more than you think. I want you to help me by your good deeds of living at home and abroad. It is through your good, not your lips, trying to be in the front seat and everything, always standing in my face. Let me put that out there again for all you parrot the Prophet Moors. It is through your good, not with your lips, trying to be in the front seat in everything, always standing in my face. Moors, be careful of your steps. Leaders of temples must be careful how they walk. They must be an example. I am not asleep. It will take you Moors a long time to find out what I did today. When you all go home, don't start no stuff, for I will be right there listening at you. This is no social organization. It is a divine and national movement. By you being born here doesn't make you a citizen. Islam Moors want to also put up there, don't forget, it's not dead. Hip Hop Decoded, the book's still available by the Black Dot. Hip Hop Decoded. Alright, you already know that you can get a hold of the Black Dot. Get the book, support the cause, because this is it right here. Right? This is it right here. Right? Don't start no stuff. Make sure you go get Hip Hop Decoded. Don't even try it. Because if you don't have this, you don't know nothing about hip hop. For real. So yes, today God is black. Naiwu Hassan. Right? Don't forget he talked about the Moors in there. Right? And Noble Drew Ali, the Last Prophet. Right? Get that at 7 Seals Publications. the royal kingdoms of Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. Patricia and Frederick McKissack. And before, also remember Moorish Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open on Blog Talk. It's going live at 9:30. Asher Kwesi, Mary Rock Kwesi, this Saturday, September 14th, 2013, York University, Curtis Lecture Hall 1, at 1 p.m., 647-919-0466, 647-289-0877. And if you have any free stuff that you want to donate to assist with the Feed the Hungry campaign, they're going to be meeting at Dundas Square on Saturday, 6 p.m. at Dundas Square. Bring whatever you want that you want to assist and donate, help the homeless. Please come help. And once again, for the Moors, MoorishOaklandStar.wordpress.com. MoorishOaklandStar.wordpress.com is a website that Moors can post any documents you want to put for the public notice or record of documenting purposes. Quote unquote, big quotes. No finance or money needed. Alright? So, show support Islam to the Moors online. We had I think like 10 to 9, 8, 7 fluctuation. You already know people on their phone, people at work, you know what I mean? But give thanks for the support. Islam to all the Moors out there who've been supporting Canaanland Moors. Don't forget, CanaanlandMoors.webs.com is the website. The temple number, 647. Oh yeah, and everybody who's left messages, I got the messages, but I left the paper that I wrote them down on at the temple. So we're gonna get back to everybody and all that. We're not dirty, you know what I mean, running off with your phone number, go give it to the CIA or whatever, just busy, right? 647-748-6664. All right, so we'll just close out with the prayer. And you know what I mean, also too, keep in remember that it's all about Capitol Street nobility. You know what I mean, make sure you know yourself. And we don't have these shirts yet. These are just exclusive. So give us a couple months and we'll have it up. And don't forget the Canaanland Moors newspaper. Moorish Guide is available. So you can get that. It's $1 for the paper. If you want a 25 bundle, 50 bundle, it's $25. 100 bundle is $50. Right? And we have stacks left still. And if you want to advertise, just get at the Moors. You know where we're at. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islam. Peace and Hotep, Moors. I have to go get ready now for Blog Talk. Islam, Moors.